In 1982, a small, unassuming jewelry shop opened its doors in Copenhagen, Denmark. It was a modest venture, started by a Danish goldsmith named Per Enevoldsen and his wife, Winnie. They named it Pandora. At the time, no one could have predicted the global phenomenon this tiny shop would become. It was just one of many local businesses, a place where the couple could share their passion for beautiful, well-crafted jewelry. They often traveled to Thailand, in search of unique gems and materials, bringing back treasures to sell in their store. This was the humble beginning of a brand that would eventually redefine the entire jewelry industry on a global scale. For several years, they operated as importers and retailers. They built a reputation for quality and unique designs, but their business remained local. The idea of mass production, a global brand, was not yet part of their vision. Their focus was on the craft itself, the beauty of the materials they sourced, and serving their community in Copenhagen. The turning point did not arrive overnight. It was a slow, deliberate evolution. Their success as retailers eventually led them to consider wholesale, seeing an opportunity to supply other shops. This shift in strategy began in 1987, the first small step toward a larger enterprise. They were no longer just shopkeepers, becoming key players in Denmark's jewelry supply chain. They hired their first in-house designer, Lone Fransen, in 1989, signaling the move from importing to creating their own distinct designs. This decision set the stage for the innovation that was to come. This transition marked a critical phase in Pandora's early history. It was a period of learning, growth, and quiet ambition. The company was still years away from its signature product, the customizable charm bracelet that would make it a household name. But the seeds were being sown. The focus on quality, direct involvement in sourcing and design, and the gradual expansion of their business model were all essential elements that began in a small shop on a Copenhagen street. How did this small Danish company transform from a local husband and wife operation into one of the largest and most recognizable jewelry brands in the world? It is a question that has fascinated business analysts, competitors, and millions of customers alike. The answer lies not just in a single product, but in a revolutionary concept that tapped into a deep-seated human desire for personalization and storytelling. Pandora didn't just sell jewelry, it sold memories, milestones, a way for people to express their individual journeys. The core of this transformation can be traced to one specific year, 2000. This was the year Pandora launched the Moments Charm bracelet, a high-quality sterling silver bracelet that customers could customize with a vast array of individual charms. Each charm represented something unique: a birthday, a graduation, a new baby, a favorite hobby, a cherished memory. This concept turned the traditional model of jewelry purchasing on its head. Instead of buying a finished piece, customers were invited to become co-creators, building a piece of jewelry that was uniquely their own over time. It democratized luxury, making high-quality, meaningful jewelry accessible to a much broader audience. The price of a single charm was affordable. Customers were not making a one-time investment. They were starting a collection. This repeat business model was the engine of Pandora's explosive growth. Birthdays, holidays, special occasions all became opportunities to add another chapter to the story being told on a woman's wrist. The bracelet became a living diary, a tangible collection of personal history. How did they maintain this connection as they expanded from one country to over 100, navigating different cultures and markets? To understand Pandora's journey, we must delve into the key decisions, the design philosophy, and the strategic milestones that turned a simple charm bracelet into a global cultural phenomenon. To fully grasp the scale of Pandora's rise, we must follow a timeline of key events that propelled its growth. After the pivotal launch, the concept quickly gained traction in Denmark. The demand was immediate and overwhelming. This initial success provided the confidence and the capital for the next logical step: international expansion. In 2003, Pandora took its first major leap abroad, entering the vast and competitive market of the United States. This was a significant gamble, but one that would pay off spectacularly, laying the groundwork for its future as a global powerhouse. The following years were a whirlwind of rapid expansion. Pandora entered Germany in 2004 and Australia in 2004. The charm bracelet concept proved universally appealing, transcending cultural and geographic boundaries. The key to this success was a franchise-based model, combined with a strong, unified brand identity. This allowed for rapid scaling while maintaining control over the customer experience. By 2006, Pandora was opening flagship stores in major cities, further cementing its brand presence and moving to a standalone retail destination. A crucial development came in 2005. They opened a large-scale, fully owned manufacturing facility in Gemopolis, a jewelry-producing zone in Bangkok, Thailand. This move was vital. It gave them complete control over their production chain. This vertical integration allowed Pandora to scale up production, maintain high-quality standards, and keep its accessible price point, a combination competitors found incredibly difficult to replicate. The journey culminates in 2010, when Pandora AS launched one of the biggest IPOs in Europe that year, listing on the Nasdaq OMX Copenhagen Stock Exchange. This event marked its transformation from a private family business into a major, publicly traded corporation. The IPO valued the company at billions of dollars, a testament to the incredible journey that began just a few decades earlier. In this documentary, we will trace every step of this remarkable story, uncovering the strategies and innovations that made it all possible. Our story takes a sharp turn here, away from the glittering world of Danish jewelry and into the nascent digital landscape of California in the late 1990s. The origins of what would become the Pandora we know today, the streaming music service, have everything to do with a visionary entrepreneur named Tim Westergren. Westergren was not a jeweler. He was a musician, a composer, a film score creator. He had spent years navigating the difficult life of a working artist, struggling to connect with an audience that would appreciate his specific style. This personal struggle planted the seed for a revolutionary idea. Westergren felt a deep frustration with the existing systems of music discovery. Radio was king, but its playlists were notoriously narrow, controlled by a handful of gatekeepers and driven by commercial interests. He envisioned a system that could understand the intrinsic qualities of a song and match it to a listener's unique taste. Bypassing the commercial filters of mainstream radio, he was thinking about the very essence of the music itself. To bring this idea to life, he found his counterpart in Will Glazer, a computer scientist. The partnership was unconventional, the artist and the engineer. Together, they began to brainstorm, solving a deeply personal problem that they believed was shared by millions of artists and music lovers around the world. The central concept was radical. Just as the Human Genome Project was mapping the genetic code of human life, they aimed to map the genetic code of music. They started listing out hundreds of potential attributes: level of distortion on an electric guitar, type of vocal performance, degree of rhythmic syncopation, even the emotional tone of the lyrics. To make their system work, they needed to create a standardized, objective set of definitions for each attribute. This wasn't about personal opinion, it was about creating a consistent analytical framework. They believed that if they could successfully map this musical DNA, their system could find other songs, even from different decades or genres, that shared that same genetic makeup. With the theoretical framework in place, the next step was to turn their sprawling list of musical attributes into a workable taxonomy. They built a detailed guidebook, a musical dictionary for analysts. Each of the hundreds of identified genes got a specific name and a multi-point definition. The system was hierarchical. The level of detail was staggering, capturing the unique fingerprint of any piece of music. Will Glazer began designing the database architecture, to store and efficiently query up to 450 distinct values, or genes, for millions of songs instantly. John Kraft joined the team. On January 26, 2000, they officially founded the company. Initially named Savage Beast Technologies, the name hinted at the wild, untamed music world they tried to map. Their product wasn't yet a consumer radio. They planned to license the recommendation tech to businesses like record stores and early digital music platforms. The early days of the Music Genome Project were spent in a small, cramped office in Oakland, California. This couldn't be done by a computer. It required a human ear. So they hired their first team of music analysts, trained musicians. For a single 3-minute pop song, an analyst might spend 20 to 30 minutes carefully dissecting it, making decisions on hundreds of different attributes. The initial focus was on creating a diverse seed library to build a robust and varied dataset that could represent a wide spectrum of musical styles. While other systems relied on collaborative filtering, Savage Beast's approach was based on the intrinsic qualities of the music itself. It could recommend a brand new song from an unknown artist to a fan of a classic band. The team at Savage Beast Technologies realized that the value of their company was directly tied to the size and quality of this genomic library. This led to a concerted effort to scale up the analysis process. The challenge was immense. To be commercially viable, their library needed tens of thousands of songs. The company's burn rate was high, with most funds going towards salaries of the ever-growing team of highly trained music analysts. To secure funding, Westergren began pitching. It was a notoriously difficult sell. Most investors wanted scalable software that didn't rely on massive ongoing human labor. He gave over 300 pitches, facing rejection after rejection. Despite the struggle for funding, the work continued. This deep reliance on human experts created a unique company culture at Savage Beast. It felt more like a graduate school seminar than a typical tech company. But by 2001, after the dot-com bubble burst, the money was running out. By late 2001, Savage Beast Technologies was on the brink of collapse. The business-to-business licensing model had failed. A pivot was necessary. What if they cut out the middleman? What if they made a consumer-facing product? Personalized radio? The team started building a prototype. A user would enter the name of a song or an artist they liked. The system consults the Music Genome Project. Then it searches the entire library for songs with similar makeup. It plays a stream of these matched songs. The prototype was raw, but it was magical. When employees and their friends tested it, the results were astonishing. It was the aha moment. This was the product. The only problem? They were completely broke. With the prototype proving the concept, they needed a new name. Savage Beast Technologies sounded too corporate and aggressive. According to company lore, it was Tim Westergren who came across the name Pandora. In Greek mythology, Pandora was the first mortal woman who received gifts from all the gods. For the company, the name symbolized the vast, rich, and surprising world of music they were about to unleash. Each station created by a user was like opening a new box, never knowing what wonderful new song might play next. The name stuck. It was evocative, memorable, and perfectly captured the sense of discovery. In 2004, the company officially pivoted. This decision required one last, heroic fundraising effort. This time, the pitch was different. He was finally able to secure a crucial round of funding from Walden Venture Capital in 2004, which gave the company the lifeline it needed. The investment was enough to pay back the years of deferred salaries and provide the capital to finally launch Pandora to the public. The Savage Beast had been tamed and transformed into Pandora. The company was no longer just a technology, it was a brand with a mission. The stage was set for Pandora to finally open its box to the world. In the fall of 2005, Pandora was finally ready for its public debut. They launched Pandora.com, There was no massive marketing budget. The company relied on word of mouth and early tech blog coverage. The product spread like wildfire. Users were captivated by the uncanny accuracy of the recommendations. It felt like a personal DJ who knew your taste better than you did. This meant that every new user validated the product, and every new user was also an additional cost. To understand the immense challenge Pandora faced, one must understand the labyrinthine structure of music rights. When a song is played, royalties must be paid to multiple parties. AM/FM radio broadcasters did not pay royalties to record labels. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998 established that digital services like Pandora must pay. The rates were determined by a 3-judge panel in Washington, D.C., called the Copyright Royalty Board, the CRB. In 2007, the CRB issued a decision that sent shockwaves. It announced a massive rate hike. For Pandora, it was a potential death sentence. Pandora had one crucial legal provision on its side, the compulsory license. This was a critical lifeline. As long as Pandora operated as a non-interactive service, they were guaranteed access to the full universe of recorded music. The entity responsible for collecting the royalties was Sound Exchange. Tim Westergren launched a powerful grassroots campaign, a SaveNet radio campaign. The response was massive. Millions of listeners flooded Capitol Hill with emails and phone calls, turning a niche industry issue into a mainstream political cause. Westergren himself spent countless hours in Washington, D.C., explaining the issue to lawmakers and their staff. While Pandora was fighting for its life in Washington, D.C., a technological revolution was unfolding. In 2007, Apple launched the first iPhone. In July 2008, the App Store opened. Pandora was one of the first 500 apps available for download. This move into mobile was a complete game-changer. It untethered Pandora from the desktop computer. It became accessible anywhere, anytime. The Pandora app was an instant sensation. The user base, which had been growing steadily, suddenly went vertical. However, this success was a double-edged sword. Every new mobile listener generated more royalty costs. The mobile explosion amplified the urgency of solving the royalty rate crisis. The immense pressure finally forced a breakthrough. In 2009, lawmakers passed the Webcaster Settlement Act. The law gave webcasters and Sound Exchange a limited window to negotiate. In July 2009, a landmark agreement was reached. It pulled the industry back from the brink and gave Pandora a predictable cost structure to grow toward profitability. The temporary peace didn't change the underlying economics. Royalty costs still consumed the majority of Pandora's revenue, leaving incredibly thin margins. Yet from 2009 to 2011, the company found relative stability. And with the adoration of users, it was ready to step onto the world's biggest financial stage. The process began in earnest in late 2010 to prepare the S-1 registration statement that would lay bare the company's entire business. The narrative presented to potential investors was compelling. The story was one of innovation, resilience, and immense market opportunity. However, the S-1 also had to legally disclose the significant risks, the company's history of net losses, and the uncertainty of future profitability. On June 15, 2011, Pandora Media Inc. made its debut, priced at $16 per share. On the first day of trading, the stock surged. The initial euphoria, however, was short-lived. In the days and weeks that followed, the stock began a steady and painful decline. The stock became a battleground. On one hand, the user metrics were fantastic. On the other hand, the bottom line remained stubbornly red. Pandora's public debut did not go unnoticed. The most significant new threat came from Europe. A Swedish startup called Spotify offered a different model, on-demand streaming. Established tech behemoths were making moves. Apple announced iTunes Radio, then Apple Music. Google entered. Amazon launched its own music services. Each competitor had significant advantages. They could run services as loss leaders. Pandora, as a standalone music company, did not have that luxury. Faced with intense competition, Pandora knew it could not stand still. One major move was the launch of Pandora Premieres in 2013. In 2014, Pandora acquired Next Big Sound. Integrating that data into the music genome project made Pandora smarter at recommendations. Just as Pandora was grappling with new competition, its oldest and most dangerous foe reappeared. All parties had to return to the Copyright Royalty Board. Pandora tried to sidestep the CRB process. The move backfired. The gambit failed. In December 2015, the CRB issued its final Web IV ruling. Not a death blow, but not the relief Pandora hoped for. As Pandora navigated the mid-2010s turmoil, a new and powerful player began to circle: SiriusXM. In June 2017, they accepted a strategic investment. SiriusXM agreed to buy $480 million in convertible preferred stock, giving SiriusXM a 19% stake. Concurrent with the SiriusXM deal, founder Tim Westergren announced that he would be stepping down. The search for a new leader concluded with the appointment of Roger Lynch. This was Pandora's last major strategic push as an independent company, to launch an on-demand subscription to compete with Spotify and Apple Music. The company was late to the on-demand game. The inevitable conclusion arrived in September 2018. SiriusXM announced it would acquire the remaining shares of Pandora. The deal was an all-stock transaction valued at about $3.5 billion. The acquisition officially closed in February 2019. It was a bittersweet moment. The scrappy underdog that had taken on the music industry was now absorbed into a larger media conglomerate. Today, Pandora operates as a brand and service under the SiriusXM umbrella. The acquisition ensured Pandora's survival and financial stability. The company's most profound and lasting impact lies in how it fundamentally changed our relationship with music discovery. The Music Genome Project is Pandora's crown jewel. Today, even with Spotify and Apple Music dominating, Pandora's influence is palpable. The expectation that a service should know you and help you discover your next favorite song is now baseline. The company's entire independent history was a story of trying to keep that one last item left in the mythological box: hope. Pandora survived its own revolution. It stands as a testament to a visionary idea and the enduring power of a simple, personal connection between a listener and the perfect song, delivered at the perfect moment.